Hey, welcome to the Lisa Mitchell Show, the show where I help millennial women crack the code in business and in life. And today we're going to spend a couple of minutes talking about how do you give a talk? How do you give a presentation? How do you show up in a space where people are going to want to hear what you have to say? And this is really timely for me because I am actually tonight auditioning for a TEDx style talk called Walk the Talk. And it's here in the Indianapolis area. And the topic is on empathy and my take on empathy, which they're looking for something kind of unique and original and something that can really engage their audience in a specific way. And I'll tell you, like, as I've been working on preparing for this and getting ready to audition tonight and take the stage, it's been a good challenge for me because I haven't given any type of talk or really put myself out there in a way that has me challenging myself outside of my area of expertise. So normally I'm in big rooms and on big stages, and I'm super confident walking in. I've given the material 1,000 times and it's all science-based and it's all body language related. And I can pretty much coast through most of those presentations with minimal nervousness. Now there's a little bit of jittery energy and, a little bit of head trash and doubt that creeps in every time I'm preparing to take the stage or to train a class. And I think that's just natural, and I think that's okay. I think you should feel a little bit of nervous energy. You should really want to perform every time you get on stage. But when it's material where this talk is including an element of me sharing more of a personal story, something that I experienced that has some emotionality around it and left an impact on me, it's got me a little out of my comfort zone. So I'm going to be honest with you there. This is a good challenge for me to think about how do I need to show up in this space in a way that's going to honor my story, in a way that's going to connect with my audience, in a way that's going to leave people feeling challenged to maybe describe or experience empathy and the what next in a little bit different way. So it's had me kind of spinning and trying out different formats and rehearsing and auditioning and rehearsing some more for friends and sending videos out for critiques. Like, it's been kind of this whole process, and it's been fun, but it's also nerve-wracking. Like, I've had those moments where really I'm like, nah, I'm going to cancel my audition. I don't feel comfortable with this. I don't think it's good enough. But I have committed, and so I am going to show up tonight and give my very best audition. And I wanted to share a couple of tips on how I've worked through this process and how I think it could really help you show up on stage or in the room in a way that really is going to serve you well and is also going to serve your audience really well. So if you have a talk coming up, or you have a presentation that you're doing, or a speech that you're working on, hopefully you'll find that these tips are valuable to you and something that you can integrate into your process. So the way I started with this project is to really write it all out. And for me, that means not necessarily scripting word for word, but just starting to kind of free flow and really capture all the nuances of my content. So really writing down my story in detail, and then writing down my challenge question and writing down my action steps and what I wanted to leave the audience with. So for me, it's really taking detailed notes and typing it all out. And that kind of serves as a base of confidence for me, because once I have thought it, captured it on paper, and really know that, okay, I'm not going to forget it. Like all my ideas, all my details are here in front of me. I can study, I can speak them out loud. I can hear my own words played back. for me, it's really a confidence building tool, and it helps me lay out everything that I could work with. Now, that's not to say that every little detail that I capture is going to end up in the final version of my talk. In fact, a lot of it won't. But seeing it all written out, capturing it all in one place really helps me distill, okay, what exactly do I have to work with from a content standpoint? And then I can start editing from there as I start structuring and piecing my talk together. So step number one, capture it all. Write it all down, type it all out, speak it and record it, however you need to interact with the material to help you calm down that fear of, oh, I'm going to forget something. Just record it, write it down in detail, give yourself a good foundation to start working with. Step two is to think about the feeling that you want to have when you take the stage, or when you get mic'd up, or when it's your turn to be in the spotlight. How do you want to feel? How do you want to show up in that space? What kind of energy do you want to bring? Do you want to feel that you're being really confident? Do you want to feel that you're being extremely credible? Do you want to feel that you're a trusted friend or advisor? What feeling do you want to have when you walk on the stage? And what feeling are you hoping that your audience is going to have as they experience your material? So how do you want them to experience you? Do you want them to see you with a lot of warmth? Do you want them to see you as vulnerable? Do you want them to see you as highly credible or an expert, somebody that they can have a lot of trust in? And it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be kind of a combination of these feelings, but just kind of knowing, okay, how do I want to feel in this space, and how do I want them to feel, can help you figure out, again, in that editing process, okay, what elements of content do I need to bring in? What body language or gestures do I need to incorporate to help create that feeling? How do I need to use my space on stage to convey that feeling? Sometimes a level of movement will help show, or lack of movement even can convey a pretty strong message to help create that feeling that you're wanting to have and that you're wanting your audience to have. So step two, think about the feeling around your talk, the feeling that you have, and then also the feeling that you want your audience to have. The third step is to invite your audience into the experience with you. And this really has been one of the hardest things for me to work into my talk, because a lot of times when I'm presenting or I'm training, I have kind of my activities or my interaction points already scripted out. And that's how I help bring people in to the experience with me. But with this talk, it's a little bit differently, because I'm not going to have that direct audience interaction. I'm not going to invite somebody up on stage with me, or I'm not going to ask for feedback. This is going to be kind of a one-way experience, but I need to make it still involve the audience. So one of the pieces of advice I was given from my friend and coach, Neil Falora, was ask them to join you. So give them experiences that they can relate to. Like, for instance, one of the parts of my story that I'm sharing tonight revolves around me losing sunglasses. And so he said, use that as an opportunity to connect with your audience, to say, you know, does anybody else have a problem keeping track of your sunglasses? I've lost 2 pairs in the last week, right? And how many people could be like, oh yeah, me too. I can never find my sunglasses, or whatever you use to kind of bring them in. And to continue to use that technique throughout the talk, to keep bringing the audience back in and letting them experience it from their point of reference, from their common connectivity. So have you ever been in a place where somebody walked in the room and the feeling just completely shifted? Like the temperature in the room literally changed because of this person's presence. Again, that's something that everybody can connect with, right? It's like, oh yeah, that happened to me at this party, or this happened to me, you know, right before something really bad happened, or whatever it is. You've just invited that person into your experience and then let them connect it with their point of reference. So I love the idea of inviting your audience finding subtle ways throughout your talk at all stages to invite your audience into that experience, to have that moment where they can say, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about, or I've had a similar feeling, whatever it might be. It helps get them emotionally invested in what you're saying, and will help build more stickiness into your talk and into your key points. So step 3 is to invite your audience into the experience. Step 4 is really to edit. So this is where you're going to fine tune. You've done your brain dump. You've thought about the feelings that you want to have, the feelings that you want your audience to have. And now is when you really start to refine. So editing, because not everything you put down in your brain dump or in your comprehensive capture is really going to serve your main points. Not all of it is really going to help create that feeling and that connectivity that you're looking for. So this is a stage where you really want to edit and distill. And that's not to say that you want to make it feel sterile or cold or procedural. You still want to leave those moments of connection and warmth in there, but it's really challenging yourself to say, what in this content is going to provide value to my audience? What is going to create emotion for my audience? What is going to give an actionable outcome for my audience? So start looking at it from an outcome related standpoint, and edit out and distill and really crystallize exactly what your main framework of your talk is going to be. So fine tune it, outline it, get your flow, and then test drive it. The next step really is to rehearse it. And for me, with my talk, I've kind of developed through the years of preparing for keynotes and talks and running new material, I've developed a system that kind of helps me in a multimodal way to experience it. So I write it down, I say it out loud, I record myself, video and audio, actually presenting, as if like from everything from pretending like I'm walking on stage to points of interaction with the audience. And again, it's all hypothetical at this point, but I can kind of see, how does it feel to give the material? Again, like, is it landing the way I thought it would land in my earlier planning stages? And then it's really helpful to play it back. And I'll play it back where I watch it and I say, okay, what gestures could I use to reinforce my point? Or what annoying things am I doing on stage? Am I shifting back and forth? Am I looking up and to the left or to the right like I do all the time? It's kind of a good tool for me to see myself in action and say, okay, this is what I can enhance and add in, and then this is what I need to be really mindful of to drop out. And then I listen to it, just audio only. And for me, that's important because it helps me check my vocal tonality and my emotionality. Am I saying things like I'm speaking from a script? Or am I using inflection? Am I using vocal variance? Am I keeping it interesting to listen to? So if somebody does hear, like for those of you listening just to the podcast right now, you aren't seeing me deliver this on video, but I want it to be as interesting for you to listen to as it would be for somebody to watch, or for somebody to be in the room and experiencing it with me. So the same thing goes for rehearsing. I rehearse it, I record it in multimedia modalities. I listen back, I critique, I experience it in different ways. And again, this is all in preparation for helping me figure out, how do I hit the high points I need to hit? And how do I get the challenge that I want to get to the audience? And how do I convey the emotion that I want to convey throughout the talk? And the only way to do it really is to practice. To rehearse and to rehearse, to record. It's so awkward to record yourself. Like watching anything back for me, or listening to myself recorded, is always like a little cringeworthy moment. But the more you do it, the less critical you get of yourself and the more productive that practice becomes. So just record it, watch it over and over, listen to it over and over again, and continue to edit and tweak based on how you're experiencing it. There's a joke that like the most spontaneous conversational talks are the ones that actually are the most rehearsed, because the more you rehearse it, the more you commit it to memory, the more you feel yourself giving that talk, the more you can relax, the higher your confidence is, the more control you feel like you have over the experience and the domain. And then you can just really, you can show up and you can relax and you can kind of just breathe into that experience because you know you're prepared. One study shows that for every 18-minute TED Talk or TEDx talk, there's about 200 hours of preparation behind that 18-minute talk. That's a lot of rehearsing. That's a lot of commitment, but TED Talks are the best. TEDx Talks are amazing, and the people get up there and make it look so seamless and so effortless, and you wonder, oh gosh, are they just naturally gifted at this? No. By far and large, most people are still afraid and still anxious and still self-conscious about public speaking. But that's the power of rehearsal. That's the power of practice. 200 hours of practice equips you, gives you confidence, lets you be comfortable with the mastery of your topic. So when you get on stage, it is about creating that feeling, creating that experience for your audience. It's not trying to remember your content. That happened 100 hours in. It's about remembering the experience that you want to create. So it's really equipping you and preparing you to show up. And now I am nowhere near 200 hours for my 10-minute talk that I'm auditioning for today. I'm not even in the ballpark of that, unfortunately, nor will I be, given the time frame that I'm working on. But you better believe I'm going to get in a few more rehearsals before I walk onto that stage tonight. I want to be prepared. I want the confidence that comes with that. I want to be worried about feelings and not about content when I walk up there. So rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. And then the last tip, and I really love this one. This again was a challenge I got from my friend Neil Falora as he's been kind of coaching me through his experience. He's given Walk the Talk talks before, and he's just a phenomenal public speaker. And he said one of the best things you can do is to walk on stage with an open heart. Like to be really intentional about just letting go of judgment, letting go of your self-doubt, letting go of all the head trash and imposter syndrome. Why would anybody listen to me? Who am I to talk about this? All that crap that kind of trips us. Let it go. Give yourself permission to walk out open-hearted. Give yourself permission to unconditionally share yourself with your audience. And again, this is one of the hardest things for me to do because I don't normally share myself when I'm on stage. I mean, sure, people see different elements and my personality is interjected, and I try to share some off the record things with people to intimate the experience a little bit more. But I can't say until this talk that I've ever really got on stage and been like, okay, here's 100% me. Like, I'm just going to give it all to you. Let the chips fall where they may. I'm not going to hold anything back. I'm going to be completely vulnerable and immersive in this experience. And I'm going to invite you all in. And whatever happens, happens. And that's freeing to think about, but it's also really freaking terrifying to think about, especially when you operate in a different space most of the time. But I know that if I can do it, that if I can walk on open-hearted and share myself 110% and invite people into the experience that I've had, that there's going to be connection, and that the impact and the challenge that I'm hoping to leave people with, it's going to happen, and it's going to be beautiful. And I hope I can be brave enough to show up in that space like that. So that's really my goal for this talk. And if you're giving a more formal presentation, or you're sharing information or a talk in a different format, like, you may not be able to just bring everybody onto the whole emotional roller coaster element, but you can really share yourself, and you can be open-hearted, and show up to connect with your audience. Make that your goal. My goal for this talk is to connect with my audience in a meaningful way. If you frame it with that goal in mind, and you rehearse and you structure and you outline, your impact is going to happen. Your audience is going to be so much better for having been in that room with you, for having watched your talk, for having watched it online. However they consume it, you're going to get what you came to get. You're going to get the impact. You're going to get the challenge. You're going to invite them in. You're going to share yourself with them. And you're going to leave an impact. And I think that's why I was really drawn to doing this talk and to auditioning for this is because I know the impact it can have. And I know the power that empathy can have. So I love the topic. I love the format. And for me, honestly, at this point, it's just a challenge. It's a challenge to see how out of my normal mode I'll be willing to operate and how much out of my normal comfort level that I'll be able to challenge myself to go. But I'm going to follow these tips. In fact, I already have. This has been my process throughout preparing this talk. So again, just to recap for you, if you're wanting to use the same format for your next talk, first thing you want to do is write it all out. So kind of brain dump, get all the elements out, everything you'd want to make sure you share with your audience, everything that was impactful to you throughout the experience. Just step one, write it all out. Know that it's on paper or know that it's recorded on your phone or in a video. However you want to capture that, just make sure that you've captured it. The second step is to think about the feeling that you want to have as you're standing on stage or having the microphone and delivering your message. And then think about the feeling that you hope that your audience will have as they experience you sharing the information. The third step is to find points where you can invite your audience in. So have you ever? Can you think of a time? Do you know how sometimes, right, frame it up that way where people can insert themselves into your story or into your situation? It gives them kind of that emotional hook to want to know what your experience is like because they know what it's like too. The fifth step is to take it for a test drive. So rehearse, and record. Record yourself on video, record yourself audio only, play it back. Get over yourself. Don't trip over the fact that you sound weird or you do, have some weird habit when you're on stage, right? It's all data. Helps you know how you can correct, what you can add in, what you can drop out, how you can have more impact. Lets you know from a vocal standpoint how interesting you are. Are you injecting emotionality? Are you using pauses? Are you making it interesting for somebody to just listen to you? Because it's not always about people that can see you or people that are going to visually be in the room with you. A lot of times it's just how are people experiencing you just by hearing you. So record, rehearse, critique, adjust. The next step is to refine. So start editing. Be kind of ruthless in your editing. Make sure that the elements that you leave in your final version of your talk are really elements that either support your story, create emotion, challenge your audience, or give them clear instructions and a call to action. So edit carefully. And then the last and maybe the most important thing is to be intentional about how you're showing up. Show up open-hearted, show up vulnerable, show up in a way that lets your audience know that, hey, I am afraid and I'm doing it anyways, or I'm not comfortable being this vulnerable, but I'm showing up for you anyways because you're important to me and I want to share this experience with you. So there's a couple of tips you can use as you're practicing and structuring your next talk or your next presentation. I want you to always show up in every room as your most clued in and confident selves. And when it comes to giving a talk or giving a speech or a presentation, this is going to be a great way for you to get a head start on that. So I'm going to do my audition and I'll let you know how it goes. Hopefully I'll be linking out a video to the final version of the talk when I give it live in March. I'm assuming the best is going to happen on this. And if nothing else, if I don't get chosen, if my audition is not the best, because I know other people that are auditioning for this and they are incredible and gifted and amazing. So I definitely have my work cut out for me. But even if I don't get selected for the final event tonight, I'm going to come home feeling great and feeling proud of myself and knowing that I felt afraid and did it anyways. And that's half the battle in this, is just getting over yourself, doing things that you're not comfortable doing, stretching yourself, getting outside of your area of expertise, getting out of your comfort zone, and just giving yourself credit for the leaps you do make. It's not about the outcome. It's not about me getting a final spot or being at the live event, although that would be really super cool. I'm not going to lie. But for me at this point, it's about, am I going to show up? Am I going to honor my story? Am I going to connect with my audience? And am I going to really be 100% open in myself on that stage? So that's my goal, is to be able to check those boxes when I get done with my audition. And if I do, then I know I've shown up for myself. And I want you to show up for yourself too, on whatever stage and whatever format that you end up on. If you want to know more about how to prep, to how to really show up in a room your most confident, clued in self, I do have an online course that you can check out. You can find it at powerbodylanguage.com/courses. It's called the People Reading Playbook, and it's going to give you 8 really actionable, easy to follow body language techniques. They're all based on science that you can take back and start using immediately to level up your communications game and to increase your confidence. So it's powerbodylanguage.com/courses, or connect with me directly. Email me at lisa@powerbodylanguage.com. I would love to start a dialogue with you. You can also find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter. Instagram is at Lisa Mitchell Indy, INDY. I'm always doing fun stories and little snippets there. You'll probably see some of my audition on Instagram stories or on Instagram at some point because I like to bring y'all along for the ride. So this is Lisa Mitchell, founder of Power Body Language, hoping you will follow these steps and show up as your most amazing self on every stage you walk in on.